Hey everybody, Erica Serwin here from Pink Bucker Designs, and look at this adorable little gift box that I have to show you today. It features the Yummy Christmas Gingerbread House. That's this stamp set right here from the 2019 holiday catalog from Stampin' Up! And of course there are dies that match. This is the Cuckoo Clock dies from the annual catalog, which also coordinate with another stamp set called Cuckoo for You. So if you buy the dies, you'll get more bang for your buck if you actually have two different stamp sets that you can use with it. But today we're just going to use the Christmas stamp set, and I'm going to show you how to make this box. Now I want you to see something. Can you see the snow over here on the edges of the house? I've added some snow or icing, and I'm going to show you how I did that and how I got better control of my snow puff paint. I'm going to show you a little trick to do with that. Now inside, you could really put anything. Right now I have Ghirardelli's in there, but you could also put a little Debbie, maybe a smaller little Debbie round cake, a Hostess cupcake, or just some chocolates, anything you want. But today I want to show you especially how to make this house. So let's get started. All right, we're going to stamp the house on crumb cake cardstock. That's going to take care of some of the coloring. When you stamp this on white, you have a lot of coloring to do. But if you stamp it on crumb cake, you're halfway there, because the crumb cake takes the color of the gingerbread. You know, you don't have to color it in with your crumb cake Stampin' or your crumb cake Stampin' Blends, my goodness, because it's already crumb cake colored. Good grief. Now I'm going to do something different that I never do. I'm going to color with my Stampin' Blends, but I'm going to stamp with StazOn. And the reason I'm doing StazOn is because we're going to spend a lot of time coloring or adding the snow puff paint. And this is very liquidy. And if you use a different ink, a water-based ink with it, it's going to pick up the color of that ink. So I have found for this one in particular to use StazOn. Now we're going to color in very small areas with our Stampin' Blend, so it'll be fine. It won't pick up the color too much in my experience, but you could also use the Memento if you feel like maybe your blends start to bleed a little bit. Now you want to really make sure that you wash your stamp pretty quickly. StazOn will create a sticky residue on your photopolymer, and you don't want to leave that ink on there. It's very hard to remove. So I'm using my Stamparatus so that I can stamp it several times if I need to. But look, we got a perfect stamp that time. So now I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to take my chamois and wipe it really good. That's just water. And then I'm going to take my stamp cleaning pad, and I'm going to just clean it really well, get as much of that StazOn off as I can. All right, look at that. It did a great job, didn't it? I'm going to go back with my chamois and really wipe it down. And now I will be certain that the StazOn hasn't left any kind of residue that's going to hinder the stamp itself. Okay, back to our crumb cake piece. Now, I told you I would show you how to add snow, the puff paint snow, more, let's see, how do I want to describe it? With more precise application, okay? This is our Snowfall puff paint, Accents puff paint. You want to shake it real good, but you'll notice that it's very liquidy. It kind of reminds me of milk. And it's very hard to just use the tip of this to stay in those lines. So I just squeeze it out onto a block, and I paint it on to the areas that I want the puff paint. Now you don't want, if you use too little, it won't puff up very well. And if you use too much, it's going to run into places you don't want it. So go slowly using the tip of your aqua painter. My aqua painter is dry. I didn't put any water in there. And just do little bits, and then get your heat tool and wait for the magic to happen. This is a little bit tedious because you've got to work in small areas, But one tip I have for you is to leave your heat tool on while you're working. It stays warm and it doesn't take quite as long after the first time. I'm going to hold this up so that hopefully you guys can see it puff up. When it starts to activate, it's really neat. There we go. Can you guys see that puff paint? So maybe if I turn it this way, you'll be able to see it. All right, now I'm going to leave that on, and I'm going to go back and fill in some more. If you feel like you had areas where you didn't get enough, just go back and add in some more. Kind of dotting around in the areas that you want it, but not giving it too much time to evaporate or to dry. Okay, I'm going to pick that up, come back over here. And now, since my heat tool's been on, you can see it starts to activate almost immediately. Look at that. Now be careful not to scorch your paper. You've got to be real careful. There's a fine balance between enough heat and too much heat. And playing around with your puff paint will show you exactly what I mean. I've burnt my paper a couple of times. And you can scorch the puff paint as well, so you have to be real careful. But you can always go back and add more puff paint, which is really cool. Just you can add layers on layers wherever you want it, however big you want it. The more you add, the puffier it's going to get. Let's see, I think we need a little more over here. This is really fun. And if you get it out of the line, you can really just wipe it away with your finger like I just did. Put some right there. When you're done with your puff paint and your aqua painter, take your aqua painter to the sink and wash it real good. I didn't use soap. I just rinsed it really, really well. But you could use soap for good measure. All right, now I'm going to add some down here, and I want you to notice, let me put that in a safe spot. I want you to notice down here, I'm just going to go right over those gumdrops. I decided they were too little to mess around with. To try to get my snow around them was almost impossible. So I just put snow over them and no one will be able to tell. All right, so let's get that puff paint going. Oh, look at that. So fun. All right, a little bit more over here. And let's see, I think I'll put a little bit over the door and then that will be it. We'll color the rest of the icing in with a white watercolor pencil. It's almost too fine of lines to get it perfect, but you could try if you have a really steady hand. Let's see, come on puff paint, do your job and puff up. There we go. All right, one more. Right above the door. And I think I need a little bit more down here. I hope you guys can see it on the camera. It really is fun just to watch it puff, to watch it grow. It really adds a lot of 3D to your project. What do you think? Pretty cool, right? Can you guys see that dimension on there? All right, so I'm going to turn my heat tool off, move it out of the way, and I will go wash that as soon as we are done. Now I'm going to take that white watercolor pencil and I am just going to go around the icing, the white parts of my candy cane. I'm over here on the side of the house. I think kids would really find this exciting to be able to touch and feel it and to feel that what looks like icing puffed up. There we go. Now, if you really want to be detailed, take that white pencil and color in half of those peppermints. I tried this in various forms with different inks, and I just really found that the StazOn was the best. The puff paint didn't pick up any of the colors from the ink at all, but it did when I tried to use those water-based inks. So I decided to stick with the StazOn. All right, now I'm going to use Real Red, Stamp and Blend, and color in just the parts that need to be colored. You'll notice when you're coloring on crumb cake cardstock that the color is more muted than it would be on white, but I really like the way it looks. It kind of gives it almost an antique feel, which is fun. All right, a couple of, oh, those gumdrops are gone. Let's do the little berries on the wreath. And, oh, we can't forget our peppermints. I also found that if I colored in first, like here, the puff paint would, if it got close enough, would pick up the color on the peppermint. So that's why I decided to color second. It's almost hard to see the white where I colored the white in. There we go. All right. Well, we've got a little mess there, but that's okay. The puff paint will distract, right? All right, now I'm going to take my dark Call Me Clover and very carefully go around those berries on my wreath. If you like to color, this gingerbread house is for you. It is quite a undertaking when you go to color it. I'm going to do a little bit of this on this guy. And oops, I forgot to color my gumdrops. I'm going to use the same Call Me Clover, and how about, oh, let's do yellow. Let's do Daffodil Delight. Right there, okay? And one more thing I forgot, I can see right here around the window. And then I'm going to take my dark crumb cake marker and color in those steps. Now you could color in your gingerbread man. I didn't like him when I colored him in with the dark, so I'm just going to do the light. After it dries, it won't be as dark as it looks now. It will dry to be just a tiny bit darker than the house itself. All right, let's do the doorknob, and we are done. So as you can see, it's quite the process. I think it's quite worth it. It's so fun and cute. Now get your die cut machine. Yeah, we're going to cut this out. The box that we're going to make is rather simple. Since you've spent so much time on your gingerbread house, you'll find that the box is simple. Now when I put this plate on here, it is going to squish down my snow a little bit. Not too much, but if that bothers you, if you really want it to stay puffy, then cut your house out before you put your snow on, okay? All right, let me move that so we can get to this guy, and I can tell you how to make this adorable little box. All right, first, you're going to need a piece of Real Red that is 7 3/4 by 3 1/8, and we're going to score it at 3 1/8 and at 4 5/8. Okay, set that one aside. Now you're going to need a piece that is 10 1/2 by 3. We're going to score the short side all the way down at 1 1/2, and we're going to score the long side at 2 1/2, 5, 7 1/2, and 10. Okay, this is going to be your box. So get all those lines burnished nice. Now grab your scissors, and we're just going to cut out one of these rectangles. It's actually exactly the same on both sides, so it doesn't really matter if you do the top or the bottom one. But then you got to stick to whatever side you've cut that off of and snip up right there. And now grab your adhesive, a strong adhesive preferably. Put some there on that tab. and fold it over like that. And now we're going to fold these box bottom pieces in. So I'm going to do 2, put some adhesive like that, and put some adhesive like that, and there's our box. Okay, now we've got this piece. It's kind of like a clamshell. It opens like this. We're going to put this guy right in the middle. So I'm going to just put some adhesive. Again, you want to use a really strong adhesive like tear and tape. Oh, wait, I almost forgot. Tear and tape or Tombow liquid. Before you do that, lay down a piece of ribbon, okay, so that it's caught there under the box. I almost forgot. And then lay the box down on top, squishing that ribbon down in there, okay? Now I've got some designer series paper cut. This first one is 3 by 3, and we're going to layer that right there over. And then I've got another little piece right here to go inside. I believe this one is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, and I've just run out of adhesive, of course. There we go. And let's clip that and tie it closed like that. And now let's add a little bit of adhesive. I've got a little bit of Tombow here, so we'll just do a little bit of Tombow. This is another 3 by 3 piece of the 12 designer series paper. And now this adorable guy needs to be put up on dimensionals, of course. Now you can see on the back side was my boo-boo, the one I stamped incorrectly. That's why cardstock has 2 sides. If you mess up on one, it's just your practice. You flip it over and you use the other side. All right, so put that there. Now, last but not least, we've got to make our sentiment. And I decided to make it long and skinny. If you check out my other videos, you'll see how I did this, how it's supposed to be. But I thought we'd mix things up. I'm going to take my soft suede ink, and I'm going to just stamp. Can you see how I'm just stamping the top part? Wishing you a, stamp that there. Okay, now open my Real Red. Stamp the Yummy right there in the middle. Then I'm going to clean this. That's key. Clean it. Come back over to my soft suede, and this time I'm just, hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. Hopefully I'm stamping right there, just the bottom part. Christmas. Wishing you a yar. Her. Well, we're going to go with it. I dropped the stamp. Gosh darn it. All right. But what did I just tell you? Cardstock has 2 sides, right? So if I wasn't trying to get this video finished, I would flip it over and do the same thing I just did. All right, I try to keep my videos short, but I can feel how long this one is going, and I just want to get you guys done and on your way so you can start coloring your super cute gingerbread houses. Okay, now here we go. You can put this anywhere. I originally put it right over my gingerbread man because I didn't like the way I colored him. But maybe, since I had a boo-boo up here, maybe I should put it up here. How about we just put it right there? Wishing you a yummy Christmas. You guys, thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you can figure out how to color and use your snow puff paint on your gingerbread house. There's a link here on YouTube back to the original post with this project. It was done during a Facebook Live, but I have the PDF for all 3 of my yummy Christmas projects under the last photo. You can open it, and it'll have all those measurements that you need, as well as a supply list. You guys have a Merry Christmas, and thanks so much for joining me. Bye-bye.